Hey, it's Sick Boy from the Gaminganarchist Collective, and we're now going to do a playthrough of Castles in the Sky with Sam's going to be controlling the game and maintaining the feed. And while we're going to go through and do somewhat of a director's commentary and talk about it as we go through. So obviously, for those of you who don't want to have the experience spoiled, probably best not to have watched this. You can always click back and see where we go. So let's get things going. I like the fact that this game kind of has no tutorial. That there's just kind of the game launches and then you're like, what do I do?
Yeah, we think the control scheme's pretty much simple enough that it's one of those things you could just find through experimentation.
Yeah, for a while I thought people wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't grasp that they're supposed to grab onto the balloon, but it's the only thing there that's moving. So it's like...
Yeah. Plus,
it hopefully explains itself.
That balloon incentivizes the player really that, like, grabbing onto balloons is a thing you can do, and we make players do it a couple of times later on in the game.
I like it.
I'm really glad that cloud basement is there, because otherwise you just plummet.
Yeah. The first few times you miss a jump, you forget it's there, and then you have this really nice, like,
It's nice because, as we discussed before, obviously games don't necessarily have to have a failure state to be games. It's interesting to have I like the fact that just like we just reset the floor. It's fine because it's not necessarily about the skill involved in beating the game as it is and experiencing it.
Absolutely, this game is a terrible skill test.
Yeah, but I think that cloud is like the reason that people are saying it's not a game. Because I think it's a pretty gamey. Like if it's an art game, it's a very gamey art game.
I mean, there are people obviously will say that. I mean, not even games like Gone Home, but they'll say a game like Beyond Two Souls doesn't exist, doesn't count as a game. Obviously, it's subjective. That obviously there is a line to be blurred that what are interactive experiences and what's a game, because games were more. Game kind of suggests a competitiveness. I'm not sure, but you know, it is what it is. It's a relatively new medium in that it's an interactive medium.
I think the definition of the word is changing. And I think that's okay. I would class this as a game. I mean, our website's Little Trees Games, and I am Game Design Dan, so I find it kind of strange that people don't consider it a game.
Well, I mean, this is a game. It has controls and it has something to it, and obviously.
I think. Sorry, you go.
I think there's a certain degree of pretentiousness from both sides of people who perhaps try and make games that have no enjoyment in them whatsoever. This game is not one of those. It's an enjoyable experience. It's an enjoyable thing to do, and there's a degree of mechanics and skill, what have you, that makes it a game. It has mechanics that you interact with. That, for me, I'd say is at least the definition of what you'd call a game.
I think the distinction for a lot of people is whether it's passive or aggressive. And this is obviously a very, very passive experience. And I think that's where it lies, which is a shame, because I think a lot of people might disregard games like this if they feel like they are sort of too passive, or they aren't a game, or they aren't interested in them because of that. Because I think more games like this should exist. I think there are games that exist like it already, but I definitely feel like there should be more of them.
I really love the art here. This wasn't what I was expecting when I wrote the line, but then Dan showed me the art for that, and I was like, oh, that tree.
Just the little tree and the couple of pot plants. That was kind of a nice.
Yeah. It's one of those really weird trees as well. Like I'm not sure why, but I find those trees really evocative. That sort of slightly surrealistic topiary. It might just be that it featured in a lot of children's books I read.
I've got to say, when I found it, it gave me this grin on my face when I saw it. I was like, oh, it's kind of like that's where you kind of see the first time you see the kind of surrealism in the game. And go, oh, yeah. It's, obviously, because like you're literally jumping on clouds. That's perfectly normal, because that's the thing with suspension of disbelief. You kind of go, oh, jumping on clouds, that's standard. That's a standard video game kind of trope and thing that happens. So therefore, it's not out of the blue. And then go, there's a tree and a cloud.
You can see at this point the gradient starting to change. The gradient's starting to change to sort of early evening. I really like the way the clouds go pink. Yeah. Is this your first time playing? Oh, cool. Well, I'll be really interested to see what you think of it actually as you go.
Because I mean, it's for me, it's obviously I found it interesting that as a gamer, played this game and I was looking at thinking, got to get every single one of those. I don't know whether it's relevant or not. but I must collect all the little orbs that make noise.
Yeah.
Because gaming.
At the moment, it's not relevant. We're thinking of introducing just a little bit of art at the end to reflect it. I mean, I won't say what it is, because otherwise it might spoil it for Sam. This is the best thing. Yeah, the plane's really pretty. A whole bunch of this art I can comment on as being nice because it's all Dan stuff.
I see there's secret meaning here, because that looks like an omega. So that's like the beginning and the end. This is a discussion about death. This is an art piece about death. This is what this is.
Of course, rather than just.
No, that's because I was too lazy to make the loop more interesting.
I love that. That's generally the answer with a lot of art. When people go.
Well, there was one point where I was like, "Hey, we could write a message with this," and I was just like, "You know what? Coding that's going to take a few days." And like, it's a lot cleaner just having the loop there.
This was a really big moment in design, actually, for us.
Yeah, this was sort of my favorite moment in the game.
Just stop to play for it. Stop playing for a minute. Just watch the balloon. I like that it comes back down again with you.
Yeah, we can't actually hear the audio on the stream, but I'm really proud of this piece of soundtrack.
Yeah, unfortunately, the technical nature, we can't get that coming through on the Skype call we're having here. But yeah, I agree. I think the music is very evocative. It's very nice and very tranquil. And you missed 2, you fool! Look at that.
And I didn't do the soundtrack, so I can say it's awesome. And you get it with the game, so yay.
From about this point on, from a soundtrack perspective, and I can't be entirely accurate because again I can't hear it. From about this point on, what you're hearing is one take of improvisation. I compose a lot via improvisation, but often it takes a lot of cleaning up. It takes a lot of work to turn it into another thing. From here until almost the end of the game, you're hearing one take that I can't quite believe didn't go wrong at one point. So towards the end, you might actually be able to hear in the music my increasing disbelief.
We've just seen the cloud floor just appear there. Just worth mentioning, as we were talking before, about having that being in there. It's a nice idea, because obviously being that the idea is that the narrative progresses. I like the fact that the first time you play it, and if you do miss jumping, you go oh.
Yes.
Oh, actually,
yeah, because if you had to reread it, it would really break up the pace quite a lot, especially as rereading stuff would just make it feel disjointed, and things, because it rhymes and things like that, it would mess all that up.
Plus, it would be dull.
Yeah, it would be really boring having to redo those jumps.
Yeah, that's something that's something when they design games they completely miss, especially things like unskippable cutscenes. You go, that's a 15-minute cutscene before you have to do anything now. Oh, really? Why did you put that in there? That's just cruel, and it's going to punish the gamer and make them want to snap the game in half.
It's that old mantra that developers should always have, which is checkpoints after cutscenes. Don't put checkpoints before cutscenes.
If there's going to be a restart point, a continue point, have it after the cutscene. just seeing your sense of awe and everything is just really nice.
I feel guilty about how simple those fireflies were to code.
I really like the way it's quite hard to see. The sky color here. I'm really proud of the sky color here. Like the way it goes. This.
So are they tracking you, those fireflies?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also,
they swirl around you.
I really like the way that when they pass in front of the player, they change the lighting on his model.
I do like the animation on the hair. It is a lovely little touch at the whole game. Just his hair flapping around. It's quite hypnotic.
That was the first thing that I did. That was before there was any code or anything. I just made sure the animation looked right.
Yeah, and it didn't change too much during the process, I don't think.
No, that was pretty much from the first 6 hours of development that art's been in there. Apart from, there's some extra stuff in there, like he lands and grabbing onto the balloon and things like that. That's changed. But him standing and jumping is pretty much the same.
It's just a comment on the stream here. He needs a warmer jacket. He's woefully underdressed.
Yeah.
For his jump into the stratosphere.
This poor kid.
a secret meaning.
Ooh, I'm chilling around longer than I should be.
Oh, I like this bit with the clouds moving underneath them.
Yeah, that is nice. It's nice to kind of see the foreground just shift that a little bit.
Yeah.
I like that. That's kind of the whole point of Constellations. It's just a random assortment of lights, and then go. It makes the shape of a bear.
Yes.
There is meaning to the universe.
Yeah, it's a really, really deep game, riddled with meaning.
That would be
It's
great, actually. If you see that's a great way of doing it PR wise. If you sold it as if you're clever enough to understand this game, that would be amazing. Just like only the truly kind of the absolute elites when it comes to thinkers could work this game out.
It's actually about the creation of the atomic bomb.
Ah. At the very end, just the words "I am become death" is the last thing in the game.
Poor Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer, damn it. Yeah. We don't really want to kill the player.
Yeah, this does theoretically have the scope to just be horrific at the very end.
Can you imagine how depressing it would be though if we built it up as this really happy thing, and then the last thing's just the most like depressing imagery ever?
Be sure
Like the clouds are actually cigarette smoke or something.
And now he's gone so high he got cancer.
That's how cigarettes work. I'm really intrigued to see what Sam's going to think of the ending, actually.
I like the I like the quote here from Press Extra Remorse. I thought it was about the execution of Galileo. Well, it may well be. Have a nice like.
These lines
here.
These lines here. It's good that you're playing.
I had a stressful day at work, and this is making it a way better day. So I'm sure that's what you wanted to hear.
These lines that you just passed by were really heavily inspired by a picture book I read when I was very small, and it's still one of my favorite picture books, which is a parent trying to lull a new baby to sleep by describing the various events that are happening in the world outside. You know, it's like it's sleepy time for us, but everything else is happening. Everything else is going on.
Not get the fuck to sleep.
No, it wasn't that one. It was much more. It had a really weird sort of vaguely industrial style to it. Like I remember these beautiful painted pictures of bakers working.
A very Victorian metaphor for.
Yes, I'll see if I can.
Go to sleep, Sylvia. Where an industry continues.
Coming up here is the first time that I changed the rhyme pattern a little, and I did this just to give a sort of sense of things coming to the end. I don't know whether or not it worked. I went into rhyming couplets instead of opposites.
Well, the important thing about this bit is it needed to feel like an ending. I mean, I remember I sort of did like a first draft of it, and it just didn't. It just kind of ended abruptly.
It's nice. I like that it has that. It does have that kind of lullaby feel to it, as you know. That certainly, obviously, it's a very niche thing. But that's the thing with all kind of indie products. It's not chasing the 5 million units to be in any way viable. which it's a shame that this day and age is very much the common thing. They go, I want to make something only if 5 million people will buy it in the first month. Then there's a whole point that these kind of experiences have every reason to exist, and they should be there. They should be there for those who want to play a whimsical game, and those who
I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Night Basilisk in the comments says the messages on the screen really don't look like anything other than wannabe metaphors. I'm sorry that you feel that way. That really wasn't what we were going for when we were writing it, and I'm sorry if the game doesn't, feel like it was quite up to scratch for you. But at least in my mind, I'm really not aiming for metaphors at all. When I go to sleep at night, there are various things that are happening in the world. There are trees blowing, the corn's growing, that sort of things. So I don't think of them as metaphors so much as it's just actual description of what's happening.
In all fairness, though, the comment of saying releasing it as a mobile game for parents to kind of show their children into bed is actually a fairly although saying that is actually kind of, it can have that function.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like the idea of it being played as a picture book. But I'm sorry, it wasn't quite your bag, Night Basilisk.
Yeah, so that's the beauty though of indie games. It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone has to be wowed by or support something.
Oh no, absolutely.
These kind of low budget games, and that's kind of, I find the reason that I'm drawn to indies in general is I like that it means a lot of people can push their creativity how they want, and if the game is of interest to someone, then they can support it and pay for it. And if they don't, well, there's a plethora of other things, because homogenization is a horribly toxic thing.
Yeah, we're really aware that what we've made isn't for everybody, but we just hope that the people who it's made for find something in it.
Oh, I certainly enjoyed that very much.
I'm glad you.
Thank you.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I think it's interesting as well that one of the first comments we get from people who don't like the game as much is that it should be on iOS, and that is certainly something we're thinking about.
Also, just to make it clear, 100% cool to not like the game. We really don't have a problem with that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair. If anyone tries to have pretensions that it's anyone trying to claim it's a hardcore experience would be absolutely fooling themselves.
Yeah. And
totally.
I advise they check out 10secondninja.com.
I have to say that is, for the sake of a hardcore Twitch-based low-res game, it is really. I've had a playthrough of the preview demo build, and it is infuriatingly hard to get good at.
Thank you. I think so. I'm just looking at what Night Basilisk is saying. Night Basilisk makes some very good points. Very well-reasoned points, at least. I think the main thing is, I personally think we've gone for the right platform with PC and Mac, at least for now, just because our goal with it is to give. It's more about giving that sense of childhood back to adults, really. At least when we were making, that's what I wanted. We might go for iOS and stuff down the line because it is good for kids and things like that. But I think we've struck the right platform there, just because the audience for PC games, especially indie games, are sort of like early 20s to 30s typically. So I think it works for that audience. Sorry that you don't feel the same way, but I personally feel like we've gone for the right thing. And again, I don't think it can be pretentious because we're not pretending. We haven't
I can understand that it might feel that it's a magnet to pretentiousness. That there are people who will, as you said in the past about it, but the people will try and read a meaning into it, and they'll try and go, yeah, well, I'm particularly special because I like this game, and you don't get it. It's that's frustrating to people, and I totally understand that, because that can be a thing where you just go, oh, shut up! You just being a dick about this.
Personally,
I think it can be.
Sorry. Go ahead there, Dan.
Oh, no, you go.
Well, personally, from playing it, I didn't see that there was any meaning in it. I wasn't supposed to take anything away from it. I was just supposed to play that in that moment, and that to give me that feeling. And then once I've stopped, I feel a lot more. I feel a lot more relaxed, and it's given me that feeling that I wanted to feel.
Thank you.
I'm going to buy it, even though I already have it.
I think for the sake
True.
of balance, when it's ready to go, I think we should get you back for 10-second Ninja, just to have that, and just have Sam howling with frustration.
I am very good.
I've only got 1 star.
I'm very good at raging. You need to have me advertise that with my rage.
I'll make sure you guys get a copy. Well, you have a copy already.
Yeah,
But,
I've got the build.
Yeah, you'll get a release copy.
Nice.
Oh, that's great. It is a
Also, what
a
is-
fun little game.
Yeah, what does sick boy mean?
See, you
That
could have
doesn't
asked
say-
this one. It's a bit of a. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go now. This is gonna be a interesting moment. It's actually a rugby nickname.
Right.
And it has a dual meaning. One of them was, if anyone's played rugby, you know that like ridiculous nicknames are a thing that happens when you do your induction into a club. And for me, on my my inaugural kind of my inaugural match when I was playing at university, and then we went on to do a pub crawl. Now on that match, I play front row. I play as a prop, and I managed to. If anyone knows about rugby, we went to uncontested scrums because I ended up flooring all of their props because they like to cheat, and I have a few techniques where I don't like to let that happen. So I would used to like they bite your ears and try and break bust your neck and everything, and I would make sure that the scrum collapsed, and then I would also make sure that I would put my knees at the back of their knees, and they would have to hobble off the pitch, either with a dislocated knee or just a bad leg. And so they came with that of the idea of. So there was that aspect that on that game I managed to go to uncontested scrums because all of their props were injured, and you have to have a trained front row to play. So we had to go to uncontested scrums, and then later in that night we did pub golf, which if you know you play a 9-hole round. Each pub has a hole, which is a certain drink, and then you have a par for the amount of sips it takes to finish it. So at the end of that pub golf, got back to the student union, and I was just being handed Smirnoff Ice. One after the other, 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 literally necking them one after the other, and then literally I just went boom, all over this massive bouncer.
Oh god.
Who
Oh boy.
walked me outside and said, "Just go walk around the building a couple of times, come back in." And they were like, "What the hell?" He's legendary apparently for knocking people out for being obnoxious. So I got this from kind of like the aspect
super
of
lightly.
one that the opposing team was sick of the sight of me because I knackered their front row, and also vomiting on a bouncer in the first night of the rugby club.
Also, I'm pretty sure that Sick Boy is the name of the rapper Childish Gambino's crew. So you've got that as well.
It's also the character from. It's also John Lee Miller's character from Trainspotting.
Mr. Sam.
Oh yes, of course it is.
Mr. Sam Explains is my own thing.
That's your own thing, is it?
Yeah, well, I got called Mr. Sam when I was a teenager because I looked.
Could be Mrs. Am Explains.
Oh, shut up! No one's gonna.
Does that happen a lot?
I can't unsee that now. It hasn't
Mrs.
happened.
Amex Plains, yeah, I like that.
I can't unsee that now. Great. No, I'm glad.
You work for you're a lady who works for American Express.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
I hate you, Dan. I hate you so much.
No
See, it's
problem.
much easier to have a name that is obviously clearly literal of your actual job.
Yeah. I don't fuck about with my name. You know what I'm doing.
Are you a mechanic? Nope.
0 out of 10 would not play again. Write mean fan fictions about the developers.
That's overtly cruel, but quite fun.
I wrote a fan fiction about my friends before to piss them off. It was called The Beach. I'm not going to read it because it's absolutely horrible and it's a couple of paragraphs long.
It's been really lovely hanging out with you, but I'm afraid I should probably go in just a bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think now's a good time to tie things up. It's been nice to have the playthrough and have the nice chat about the game and everything.
I'm really glad you enjoyed it.
I loved it.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Oh, do have one more comment here from Night Basilisk that's probably worth reading again because it's an interesting one to kind of like to bring up essentially the topic here because
Yeah, all right, hold
Yeah,
on.
so a
Let me
lot of
just-
games these days don't necessarily look at games the way you expect because games are a lot more of a video than challenge. Are either very clearly labelled easy Wolf Among Us or assumed to be that, since the general knowledge is that no gameplay equals bad design. So every gamer on PC, Mac, etc. will essentially feel that they will find a reason because obviously they don't intentionally ignore gameplay.
Right. Okay. I sort of feel you there. I sort of feel you there. At the same time, I think that there's been a really fantastic rise in PC and Mac games lately. Whether or not they're necessarily games that you particularly enjoy, of games that push the medium, that test things in an interesting way, or that are not what you'd necessarily expect on the platform. Now, it would be really presumptuous of me to imagine or to say that our game is like that, but I can only hope that it's potentially received like that. But I look at some of the fantastic games by hypertext designers like Porpentine, Merrick Copus, Anti-Pixelanti, people like that. I think they're consistently bringing experiences that you wouldn't necessarily expect on the PC and Mac to these platforms. I think it's my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's certainly a niche for games like this. Whether it's certainly not mass appeal, but there definitely are people on PC and Mac, I think, who would like this.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. The response we've had so far has been very, very good. Way better than we expected. I mean, obviously there are a lot of people who will say it's pretentious and who won't enjoy it and who would prefer more of a challenge from the game. But the simple answer there is the game isn't for those people, and that's okay.
Yeah, we're not saying, oh, bad, you don't like our game, that's terrible. We're saying, we're sorry it's not for you. I'm sure you'll find enjoyment elsewhere.
Yeah, I suppose it's one of those things that just because a certain title from a certain person isn't necessarily suited, that all of them won't be, because things aren't always tonally. Some people will make tonally identical things all the time, and that just gets frustrating and tedious. I don't know how they live with themselves doing the same thing over and over and over forever.
Call of Duty!
Yeah.
No, see, most of them left and make mech FPS instead.
Yes.
They're like, I'm bored of this. Mechs. That's what we want.
Yes. Alright, well, Chris, you want
But thank you so much for inviting us on.
Yes.
Although,
It's a
sorry,
pleasure.
just another point. Interesting. Press Extra also commented about the Line Native version is due to make is with regards to the Steam OS, is to make it compatible with that. Which obviously a lot of people will be dropping Windows entirely when it's safe, when they know it's safe to. Which I think that is a future. It's a potential future with PC gaming, that using PCs as actual PCs is going to start going out the window, and it's going to be used as custom gaming machines, which is definitely the way things are going, certainly with these custom OSs and everything.
Yeah, I'm really excited about those custom OSs.
I think what's important to know there is when we know it's safe to. We certainly will consider porting it to Linux in the future. There's no guarantee there in terms of like which platforms we're definitely going to hit. The only ones confirmed right now are PC and Mac. But like, if Steam OS has a big enough audience and they ask for it, then sure, we'll definitely like do our best to figure that out and see if we can put it on there. But I don't think that's going to happen for quite enough time for it to be worth like doing right now.
Yeah, I think so.
Alright. Chris, you want to do your thing?
Yeah, sorry, I was just replying to a comment on the stream there.
Do your thing, Chris.
Do it.
Anyway, yeah, I will bow to peer pressure. It's fine.
Do it.
Anyway, guys,
You'll never be cool.
I'd like to thank Jack and Dan for coming on to showcase their game, to talk about it over obviously this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, this video and obviously the previous video where we had the interview discussing it. And thanks a lot, Sam, for playing through the game for us. That was good.
I really enjoyed that game, and I'm going to be buying it anyway, even though I have it. So.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's a nice endorsement to have.
Well,
anyway, so yeah, just like to so thanks a lot, Sam. Thanks a lot, Dan. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you very much.
And thanks a lot, Jack. It's good to see you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
And everyone, thanks a lot for watching. I'll catch you guys later.